Alright, I'm going to start here in the corner. All these cabinets were loose. These little corner fillers were not installed. And the ones that were installed when I got here, I guess they'd taken it apart. The seams right here were all gapped out, right where the 45 is, so they made all new corner fillers. Now, some of this is what's been going on. I got a big gap in the corners. It's not the worst, except there's daylight going up between. You can see the daylight. End panels were loose. I got to replace or pull those off and re-glue. This is where there's like a bunch of putty up in that corner. So we're basically reworking this whole section. You can see how far off the floor it is. That's a piece of 3/4, or actually a 2x4 ripped down to about 1 1/8. So just to get it level ready for cabinets, we had to raise everything up at least 3/4 to 1 inch. We're going to be putting an island back here, or a peninsula, so these upper cabinets will now butt into here. This section, this cabinet was right over flush to the window, so it wasn't centered. So there was a filler in this corner. We took it down and we ripped it down and moved these cabinets back over, and we're going to rework the crown. This corner right here, they wanted us to rework it, where this door is attached to the filler. That filler was all beat up and hot glued in. Screws through the face on these plates, no good. The wine rack was the same way. We're replacing that, so we already took that down. Again, wood filler in the corners just to fill the gaps. Corners all beat up on the crown, sometimes that happens. But even this is full of wood filler. This section here, they want me to rework. These cabinets aren't centered. There's a filler here, but there's nothing over here, so this door is binding really bad on the stile. And there's a gap in here, there's no filler, but the crown was ran over to the wall. So they want that section reworked. The panel's coming off. This island panel's all loose. It's not glued, and there's no nailer plate down in there. So we'll pull that, glue it, and finish that. The white isn't horrible, but they want me to rework the crown. It's not too bad until you get over into here. There's quite a bit of wood filler and gaps. I know it's a goofy setup here, but even up in there's a bunch of caulk to fill the gaps. They don't like that. Big gap right there with wood filler in it. Cabinet's pretty much unfinished, not screwed in. Over here, they're going to let this section be the way it is. I guess he already reworked this whole section here. He does want me to take these bookshelves down and rework them. Again, with the crown and the filler, the wood filler. A stile probably should have been ripped down. I'm sure the material wasn't here to do it, but to finish these edges off. He doesn't like the fact that, these fillers go all the way to the floor, and the way that they're boxed out like that, they don't like it. So I'm going to fix that. They installed this whole display themselves. So we got crown to put up on this section. This section here, the electrical, the wiring was pulled in with the Cat 5 wiring in the same conduit, so that was no good. So they're X-naying this, and they're moving the design center somewhere else. The crown wasn't too bad on this one. We're going to rework some of it. The roping doesn't line up. The seam actually turned out pretty well. But using that little pin nailer that you guys are using, the really small pin nails are no good. You got to get a different trim gun because those nails don't hold. We just got wood filler and things like that on this section here. Again, so I got to rework a bunch of this crown. All this turned out pretty well. I'm not going to mess with this part of it, but instead of returning it to the wall, it just stops. The screws, you know, switching to the smaller trim screws is definitely the way to go. There's quite a few of those throughout. This section here is in good shape. I don't think there's anything, you know, we're going to change other than the crown was short. You know, I don't know if we're going to do anything with that or not. But I think all this section turned out pretty well. I can see some daylight through that crack, but I might be able to fix that. Doors aren't adjusted. See, they're different. Doors and drawers need to be adjusted all the way. There's no nailer against the wall, so these panels are just really loose. In this section we're missing cabinets. We got missing trim up here, just missing pieces. Again, the crown's really crooked on this. It just runs downhill, stops short, doesn't go all the way back. But those nails aren't holding, they're not working. You gotta get shoot at least an 18 gauge nail. You can still putty the holes. End panels need to go on a bunch of sections.
Hold on one second.
And there was a lot of these fridge panels unfinished. This is what was installed to hold the fridge panels in place. In this one in particular, 3/4 plywood was used and just left raw. Nothing painted white to kind of make it disappear. So that was a complaint. Again, instead of the big screws, using trim screws.